Hey guys, Bido here to tell you about the latest from Hiraes, Dormant, out January 26 on Napalm Records. The album has 10 tracks, 45 minutes in length, and this is the band's second full-length studio album. They are a German melodic death metal band. From a design standpoint, there's not much to say. This album feels very compact, it's very balanced, but I think that's also a result of the sound and the overall experience that the album gives. I like the fact that the record starts off with the two singles. This allows you to better understand the album and to kind of ease yourself into the experience of listening to the album. Immersing yourself from the get-go gives you a much better understanding of where the album is trying to take you. An album that never really changes that much, that stays connected, that stays fluid, but it always moves you forward. And I think that's a very important aspect. In order to break away from the balance that the record has, the fluidity makes you feel like the album is taking you to different places, even though the path is always exactly the same. So great record from that standpoint, allowing the experience to be compact but fluid. Once it comes down to the sound, this is a record that sees an evolution from where the debut record left us. So a lot of the elements, a lot of the characteristics, a lot of the fingerprints that we saw from the band on their debut album, you're still going to find them on this record. They're not trying to reinvent the wheel. They're just trying to make sure the wheel moves smoother, that the wheel has better movement to it. How did they do that? I think they did that by creating a very interesting melodic sound that is the backbone of the entire album. Every song on this record has a lot of melody in it, either in the forefront driving the experience, normally with the guitars really pushing that melody with great riffs, or a little bit more in the background using keyboards and synths in order to create this haze, this atmosphere that really involves the tracks and also allows the melody coming out of the guitars to bubble all the way up to the surface while still continuing to use that same sound as an underlining bass line in order to connect the songs and give the songs a little bit more of a full experience to them. This is where I see the main difference from their debut record. It's using the same attributes, you're pretty much using the same ingredients, you just redefined the formula and you made it work in a more seamless way. It also allows the overall sound to feel a little bit bigger, to feel a little bit thicker at times, to have more textured songs, but not necessarily making the tracks overwhelm the listener. This is an album that it's easy to get into, easy to listen to, considering how heavy it is. The melodic side of the album, the melodic side of the keys, and the melodic side of the guitars really helps make this record more digestible for the listener. And there you're able to breeze through it, even though the songs, like I said, have quite a bit of thickness, quite a bit of volume, and quite a bit of texture. But going back to the guitar sound, which I consider one of the main pillars of this album and of the band, I think this record, they took leaps forward from what they had done on the debut. On the debut, maybe a little bit more controlled, maybe a little bit more concerned with what they were trying to do, trying to prove themselves. This record, guitar-wise, but not only, but guitar-wise, it feels more free. It feels more dynamic. It feels more alive. I really like the duality of the guitar sounds, using both guitars to really give energy, to create depth, to create movement within the songs. And then, like I said, inserting a lot of melodic riffs. This album has great riffage, a lot of melodic riffs in order to create that more traditional melodic death metal sound, and then allowing the heaviness that emphasizes the heavier side of the band to come more from the drums and the vocal performance. The guitars obviously help, but the guitars have more of a melodic approach all around as far as the soundscape is concerned. The drums are the one giving that extra thickness, giving that extra heaviness, or at least allowing that specific portion of the soundscape to feel more predominant, to have almost like the feeling like it's coming from a different direction. The guitars are infusing the melody, and then the drums and the vocals come in and put in that aggression and that intensity. Obviously, you're still going to get heaviness out of the guitars, but the heaviness out of the guitars blends really well with what the drums is doing and overall what the vocals are providing. And then you just see better the melodic side of the guitar sound versus the heaviness that's coming from a much different, or at least appears to come from a much different direction. The other beacon of this record is Britta's vocals. I honestly feel like the same way I looked at the sound and looked at this album as being a record where the sound feels more organic, where the sound feels a little bit more free, breathing better. The melodic side of this record really jumps forward and becomes super predominant on every single track, which, like I said, it allows the songs to be thick, big volume, a lot of texture, but still really easy to digest. The same could be said for the vocals. It's a much more organic approach. The songs feel a lot more loose vocally, even though you still get that intensity, you still get that aggression, you still get that emphasis on heaviness coming from those harsh vocals. Overall vocal performance felt a little bit more connected with the overall experience and with the overall spirit of the record. Everybody was going in the same direction. Everybody had the same goal in mind. This feels like an album where all the different pieces, all the different elements just are fused a lot better. They don't seem forced in order to work with one another. They just feel like they are the right pieces to the puzzle in order for you to be able to see the full picture. So this album is not just steps forward and steps above of what the debut record offered. This album is leaps forward in terms of what I saw from them on the debut album. It's incredible to see the growth across two records. This album almost feels like a whole new band in terms of how complete the record is as a whole, but also how the individual songs are structured, designed, and obviously executed. As far as favorite tracks are concerned, I want to start off with Undercurrent, a track that has a great cold melody that runs through it, really cold, frigid, I would say. And that melody being so frigid, it infuses this melancholic vibe that's emphasized by the clean vocals in the track. I think the clean vocals have that goal in mind of really emphasizing the more dark and somber aspect of this song, that cold breeze, that cold undercurrent that this song has. It's definitely emphasized by the clean vocals, which I thought was a great touch on a song like this. It really creates a yin and a yang from the more melancholic side of the track, the more melodic side of the melodic death metal of the track, and then bringing in the aggression, the heaviness on both guitars, drums, and vocals in order to emphasize the death metal side of the melodic death metal sound of this band. A track that has these two elements finding a way to coexisting really well with one another. A track that also has a great drum sound overall. The guitars are phenomenal, as they are throughout the entire record, and the vocals feel very rich. Obviously, when you have that combination of clean vocals with harsh vocals, you're going to have a more dynamic performance, and you're also going to have a much richer sounding song all around. Next, we have Chance to Fail. Great melodic riff. This track really has this defined signature sound that the moment you're listening to the song, the moment the song kicks off, you know which track you're listening to. There's no way of you confusing this song with any other track on the album. It has a very distinct guitar sound and a very distinct guitar execution that really puts a fingerprint and a trademark on how the overall song comes across. It has a lot of layers. It's a very melodic, very textured song. It has a great vocal performance that stays very consistent in terms of the aggression and intensity that it offers to the track, and it brings a certain level of attitude to the song, which it counterbalances some of the more melodic elements that you're going to find coming through the guitars. So it's a track that has a nice little blend of elements, but that blend of elements creates its own signature experience that stays very consistent from start to end. Last but definitely not least, Ocean Child. Now this is a little bit of a roller coaster ride. This is like you're making a dish, you're preparing a dish, you're not really sure where you're going with it, you're kind of just throwing different ingredients at it, hoping that they all work in the end and that you end up with a new dish that really surprises not just the people that are going to enjoy it, but surprises you as well. This track is a little bit like that. They threw a lot of different elements that you're going to find throughout the entire album. They were not afraid of going with a more melodic, melancholic sound at times. They were not afraid of increasing the heaviness of the track and almost give it a brutal nature coming out of the guitars and drums together to really emphasize that heaviness, to really emphasize that punch. Not even relying on the vocals to do it, just really sound-wise, really pushing that experience through, and then obviously the vocals enhance it. And then going into different elements within those two realms, within the realm of having a more melancholic, darker sound to the realm of having a more brutal sound, and everything in between. They found all of these different steps on this ladder that you take from the moment you start listening to the song all the way to the end. While all of them feel very different and very unique in their own individual selves, the way they blended them or the way they put them together in this recipe that builds this track, it doesn't feel jarring, it doesn't feel jolting. You're able to find all the right ebbs and flows. You're able to navigate through it really well, like you're on a roller coaster ride. There's a lot of ups and downs, there's a lot of twists and turns, but you're still on the ride and you're still riding it all the way to the end. You're not getting off the rails. This song never really gets off the rails, and I think that's really something important for a song, that it's this dynamic, that is this volatile, even chaotic to a certain extent. This is it. Hiraes with Dormant, out January 26th. Let me know your thoughts on this German melodic death metal band. Hit me up in the comment section. I'll see you all at the next video.